We're going to get started here. I'm running a little late, but we're going to get started anyway. We're going to put this right here. We're going to get all set up here. How's everybody doing? Nobody's in here yet, and that's okay. Sorry about that. Having a little technical difficulty. All right. First off, okay. So apparently, okay. So let's get started, guys. How are we doing tonight? Few things I want to cover tonight before I answer questions that I got emailed. Was number one, there's a lot of folks that have called me a lot of names over the last month. And I'm going to assume a lot of you work in the RV industry in Indiana. I had one guy write a 8-page, basically 8-paragraph statement how I lie about everything. And I want to clarify some things. First off, I did work on the wholesale side of the RV business. I worked actually for Coachman RV for about a year. And I have contacts that I've built over the last 15 years that feed me information from the banking side, the parts and service side, and things of that nature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer a bunch of questions I got emailed. I got emailed a ton of them. And I'm running late with this thing because internet, phone, difficulties, but I'm going to go over all this. But I want to make sure for those of you watching live and for those of you that watch later that there are going to be a lot of people upset with the information that I'm giving out, because if they work for the factory, a lot of the information I give you is not good for the factory. It's not good when I feed you information that really the factories don't want you to know or want you to hear. So for those of you that do work for the factory, hey man, I can completely understand why you're mad at me. For those that are dealers, because I found out 3 of the people that made these nasty comments on my video I did in December were actually work at dealerships. I'm sorry if I offended you. I'm sorry I'm so transparent. But I feel like customers, when they have more knowledge, they build more trust in what the product they're buying, and they have an understanding of what they're buying and what they're getting themselves into in both a positive and a negative light. I'm not Liz Amazing, who goes completely negative. I'm not Wingman Wisdom, who goes completely negative. But I'm also not Josh the RV Nerd, that everything's beautiful and sunshine and rainbows, or Matt's RV reviews. I'm kind of in between. All right. So let's get to your questions. I got emailed a lot of them, so I'm very thank you guys. Everybody that gave these questions, I want to thank you ahead of time, because at the end of the day, your involvement may be a question somebody else was thinking about that I haven't covered yet, and it may help somebody else. So I want to thank everybody that sent me these questions. So this, he said I could give his first name out. This is from a gentleman named Charles. Charles lives in Lakeview, Louisiana, if I'm reading that right. I'm not even sure if I'm reading that right. Chuck asks, dealerships in the South are charging fees that I'm not understanding. What fees should I expect to pay when I buy an RV in this environment? It seems like everyone that I seek out has a very low price on the internet, but by the time I get the total out the door, it's right back to where it was a year or two ago. Your videos have told me that dealers should be heavily discounting these units. Help me out, please. Okay. So let me start prefacing by this. I also said in a video earlier in December that there are knucklehead dealers out there, and they may not be in business anymore. A lot of RV dealerships that are not in dump mode on inventory and are still trying to make horrendous profits are probably not going to be in business by summer 2024, which is summer of this year. Okay. That being said, Camping World acquired 3 dealerships this last month, that will hopefully close the deal for their sake by second quarter of this year. But those 3 dealerships are notorious what we call high grossers, meaning they don't sell a lot of units, but they charge everybody all the money. Okay? Dealerships like that are not going to survive this economy. So some of the legit, and I'm talking about very legit fees that dealerships should be charging is number one, PDI or prep fee. It's either or. Now, the reason why that's legit is because even if they don't outwardly tell you that they are charging you a prep fee, they are. Because I'll give you an example. I worked for Giant RV in California. We built in our prep into our price, but our prices were higher than a lot of the other competition that charges prep or PDI fees separately. Now, here's the difference between, and I don't think I've covered this yet. I need to cover this soon. But the 2 things you really have to understand is, number one, the car business, the factories pay the technicians. Watch this. The factories pay the technicians to get the car ready for sale. So they'll get $700, $800, $900 to put full tank of gas, make sure that the engine's running right, make sure everything's according to what the manufacturer's specs are. If you guys remember my last video, if you watched it, if you didn't, I'll put it in the description box below later if you're not watching this live. I said that the factories do not participate in incentives. This is one of those incentives the factory does not participate in. We are, as a dealership, responsible for the propane, the water, the gasoline if it has a generator, if it's a motorhome, the propane, the battery, if I've already mentioned that, and the starter kit. And we're responsible for getting the unit ready and making sure all the major appliances work. And we're supposed to, of course, not every idiot does, but we're supposed to make sure there's no leaks or no problems. Now, we all know, or at least I've said in the past, that RV stands for toolkit and sense of humor, and of course, they're earthquakes on wheels. But the goal is to make sure there's the fewest or no problems when you leave. The factory does not pay a service department to do that. So the dealership charges it either internally and raises their price, or they charge it separately. So a prep or PDI fee is legit. No matter what other people say, that is a legitimate charge because it gets charged no matter what. Bish's RV charges it. Camping World charges it. Lazy Days charges it. Giant RV, Mike Thompson's, General RV. That's fine. The other 2 fees that you should expect that are legit that the dealer collects and keeps is going to be dock fee and a lot of times a titling fee. Now, the amount is ridiculous. Like, I charge $155 total for my dock and title fee because that's about what it costs me to send the title work up to Carson City, Nevada when it's all said and done. The FedEx, all the paperwork, the notary, etc. However, there's a lot of dealers out there in the Wild West of the RV business that try to charge $495, $595, $695, okay? That's, to me, not legit. That's a ripoff. But a title and dock fee is legit, and so is a prep fee. Fees that are not legit, fees that are really just stupid, freight. When I worked shows at Hershey and in Tampa Bay, Florida, every single dealership just felt like it was normal to charge people freight charges. That doesn't make any sense. Why is the customer responsible for paying the freight bill? They're not. Now, if they want it shipped themselves to their house in another state, okay, I completely understand. But why are you charging them a freight fee? That doesn't make any sense. So I don't think that's legitimate at all. Any kind of markup for paying cash is not legitimate. Now, I'm going to pedal backward for a minute there. When you pay cash for an RV, and I know I'm going beyond what you asked, Charles, but when you pay cash for an RV, you have zero to almost no negotiating power on the price when it's new. When it's a used RV, generally dealerships are a lot more amenable and willing to negotiate cash deals on used. And I'll explain that in a few minutes, but a lot of times, especially if they're trying to flip an RV fast or flip a used trade-in really quick, cash usually can be king. But reality is cash down is king, not cash, okay? So I hope that helped you out, Charles, whether you're watching live or whether you watch this later, okay? Next question. Okay, coming down here. My credit score is 690. I can't reveal the name. They asked me not to reveal their name, city, or state. My credit score is 690. I have a steady job that I've been at for over 25 years. Yet I've been to 4 RV dealerships and they cannot seem to get me approved for a loan outside of an 18% loan over a 6 or 7 year period. Watching your videos on bad credit RV financing, it does not seem that my credit would be that bad where I cannot get a loan. I went to my local credit union and they told me plain and simply that I would not qualify for anything more than $25,000. And what I'm looking at right now is a fifth wheel that will cost me $60,000 used. I'm putting a good amount of money down, between $10,000 and $12,000. I can afford up to a $700 or $800 a month payment, so the payment will not bother me. I'm just trying to get financed so I can accomplish my goal of full-time RVing and heading down to visit every single national park in the United States. And I also want to park and live in British Columbia for at least a year. Can you please help me out? Okay, so I'm going to say that I need to look at your credit at 690 to kind of tell you where things are getting screwed up. If you've been to 5 dealerships, you've had to have run into at least one guy like me that thinks outside the box. Reality is your credit score has probably 50% due to 50% of a reason why a bank or credit union will pick up a loan is due to your credit score. However, here's the however, folks, and let me tell you very plain and simply. A 690 score, there's 690 scores that you don't understand why they're 690. They should be 50, 60 points higher. And there's 690 scores that are completely unbuyable. So I would need more information. But I would tell you, by the last thing you told me, if you went to your local credit union and you told them you were going to full-time RV inside a fifth wheel, and that you were leaving your home to live in a fifth wheel, and you told them at all you were going to sell your house maybe, or rent your house out, or whatever the case may be, that's an automatic decline. You could be an 840 FICO score. You could have the most perfect credit score and perfect credit on God's green earth, and that's stamped an automatic decline. Okay? Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to email you a link to Alliant Federal Credit Union, because if Alliant will not do the loan, especially after you tell me you want a full-time RV, then there's something on your credit report that is not being shown, or that the banks and the credit unions are scared of. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to email you a link to a soft pull system that I use personally at my dealership. And if you use this soft pull system, I don't need your credit, I don't need your social. I can possibly look at your report without dinging your credit and kind of give you an idea. So if you're watching this now or watching this live, or you see the email, I could possibly do that. Now, I know where you live, and you don't live that far away from me, so if you want to come see me and see what I have. I'm also going to link the website I have, and maybe we can work something out where I can figure out how to get you into it. Just got a guy $135,000 loan, and he hasn't taken credit out in almost 11 years. So, but just to let you know, I know since I know where you live and I know the surrounding areas, I know if you went to 3 of the dealerships that I'm thinking of, the 3 finance managers I know there, they're not quite me, but they pretty much exhaust a lot of the stuff that goes on. So I would not, I wouldn't per se give up, but I gave you some options there, okay? Next question. Oh yeah, next question, eh? The last one was in spam. Okay. Bam. And bam. And bam. Okay. Dear Honey Badger, we are having a tough time selling our van. We have officially called it with the RV life. We had an absolute blast living out of our van that we converted ourselves. We spent almost $75,000, including the actual cost of buying the used van that we used to be able to do this. The memories we built, the education we passed on through our social media was extremely rewarding. Now we are ready to hang it up. We're trying to get between 35 and 45 grand for our van, and we have a lot of people very interested, but most people want to finance it. Do you know of any bank that'll finance a van conversion? And is there any advice you could give us in how we can possibly move this van pretty quickly and at least recuperate close to half of our money? Okay. This is a great question. This is a question I get about twice a year. I got this twice last year. Of course, I didn't have the following I have today. So let me start out by this. When you do a van conversion, it is less money than buying the RV. So like you have the Winnebago Solis, you have Road Trek, you have Pleasureway, you've got Coachman Beyond. You've got this, I think it's called the Citation. You got Midwest Vans. These are all RVDA and RVI certified RVs. Now, while that might not mean much in the real world, to banks and credit unions, it is a legitimate RV built by a legitimate RV manufacturer. Okay? So, what does that mean for your van conversion? What it means is when people go down to their credit union and take the VIN number and take what it is, and they tell the underwriter that it is a van conversion and that it's not a Winnebago Travato or a Road Trek or Pleasureway, they book it out using kbb.org. So they use wholesale book from what the chassis is worth. And that's why you're not getting the calls back. That's why the people that tell you they're interested, they don't answer the phone to anymore. It's because more than likely you're asking, let's say 45 grand. There's a possibility, depending on the year of your chassis, the year of the van, that the bank might only lend 17 or 18 grand because that's what the van itself is worth without all the RV parts. Okay? So this is the downside to the van conversion life. You actually, and I know people don't want to hear this, and I'm probably going to get slaughtered in the comments section because I get nasty people all the time about this. You lose more money and more value in converting the van yourself than you do buying the RV. Meaning if you went out and bought, let's say, what's that Winnebago called? The Revel, the 4x4 Revel. You will lose a bigger chunk of money converting your own all-wheel drive Mercedes van than you will buying a Winnebago Revel. And the Winnebago Revel is $200,000+, and yet you'll lose less money because the banks will lend based on J.D. Power and give you between a 15 and 20-year loan on that van conversion, or on that Winnebago. While on a van conversion, depending on the year, you might only get a 4 or 5 year loan on it, like a car, because they're going to treat it like a car. Now, that all being said, you might lose more money, but a lot of times, and this is the positive part. So everybody heard the negative part. Let's hear the positive part. The positive part about doing the van conversion is that you get to do it your way. You don't have to depend on some engineer who does things completely different because it's a mass manufactured RV, meaning the engineers do it X amount of ways and that's all they're going to do it. The van, you can create your own dream, your own, how can I put it? You can put your own spin on things, okay, when you do the van life and do the van conversion. Now, the other positive thing of doing the van life is, let's say that this van, the van itself, not what you put into it, but the van itself is worth $20,000 to the bank. If you have someone with subpar credit, then you're going to have an easier time getting the van sold when you're done with it. Even though you'll take a lot bigger hit on it, you will have an easier time selling it because they're going to treat it as a car loan than an RV loan, and car loans are a lot easier to get than it will if you sell the RV. Okay, so here's a great example. I have a Winnebago Solis. Beautiful van, great van, RV by Winnebago. It's here. It's on sale for $115,000 on consignment by a customer. Okay. I've had 5 people come in and they can't qualify for that loan. Mostly because of credit. But if they found, let's say, a $30,000 van and converted it themselves, it's easier for them to get the loan. So there's different strokes for different folks. So there's a dark side to the van life, and there's a bright side to the van life. There's a dark side to converting your own van, and there's a bright side to converting your own van. So it's really just, you have to set aside what you're going to lose, because you're going to lose your ass when you buy a van and when you convert a van yourself. Whether you either buy the van and you convert it yourself, or you buy the RV already packaged, you're going to lose your rear end. It can't be a money decision based on what you're going to lose. It's got to be a personalized decision, like, this is what I can afford, or this is what I really want. And that's where it comes from, because it's such a small niche market. It's not a very big market. It's very small. Less than 2% of retail sales across the United States or Canada are van conversion RVs. And then you have, I think 10% of that market goes and converts their own van themselves. So hopefully that was helpful to you. It's very rare you'll get somebody to pay cash for a van that's converted, because a lot of times, guys, when people have $45,000, $50,000, $60,000 in cash and they're going to get a van, they'll just convert it themselves, just like you did. So just remember that and keep that in mind. You're going to have a lot more people wanting to finance it than you will having people pay cash, just for that reason alone. Because remember, you converted the van either because you thought you were going to save money, or B, because you want to make it your own thing, which that's the majority of it. Just to let you know, one last thing on it before I go to the next question. Most of the van conversion people I talk to that convert their own van, they do it because they feel they can engineer it better to fit their needs and wants for their travel than the RV manufacturer. So just keep that in mind, okay? Okay. Next up. Oh, I just had a bright light white face for a minute. Whoa. Ha. Happy New Year to you, honey badger. My dad is selling me his 1999 Alpha Sia fifth wheel. It has a basement air conditioner. I've heard you say in past videos that you love the basement air conditioner. But my biggest problem is when I go to campsites, they only have 30 amp plugs. And I seem to blow breakers every single time I turn up the basement air conditioner during the summer. I really want to try to avoid this coming summer, as I am going to be working on a construction project in Albuquerque, New Mexico, starting in July of 2024. Do you have any advice? I want to get a jump start on this, because I know that by the time we turn the corner this year, it's going to go from January to July in a snap of a finger. Okay. Basement air conditioners need 50 amp, okay? The only thing I can tell you is if they don't have a 50 amp plug at a campground that you can get to in reserve, and you run into that, my biggest piece of advice to you is to go get window mounted air conditioners. Now, I'm pretty sure you've heard that piece of advice before, but there's really nothing else you can do beyond that. Basement air conditioners are the most bitchin' air conditioners. I hated when Winnebago went away from it. I hated when Monaco went away from it. To me, even though they're noisier than a lot of the Whisper Cool mounted air conditioners on the roofs, it would turn your freaking fifth wheel or motorhome into an ice box. So instead of you walking in and going, oh, it's only like 15 to 20 degrees cooler compared to what's outside, you felt like you were at home. But this is one of the issues that, and one of the main reasons why manufacturers went away from the basement air conditioner. They went away from the basement air conditioner because of this issue. So the best thing you can possibly do is, number one, go get a few window mounted air conditioners for your fifth wheel. And then number two, when you pop the breaker at the campsite because there's too much draw from your basement AC, turn on your window ones. Put one in your living room and one in your bedroom, and make sure you start running them early in the morning, especially if you're going to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've been there in the summer when I was visiting dealerships out there, visiting my friend Craig at Camping World and stuff like that, and it's freaking hot as hell. It is craziness, okay? So I mean, I'm pretty sure you've heard that before. I'm pretty sure you're just looking for me to tell you the same thing somebody else is, but that's definitely something you want to look at. Okay. Okay, this is from Charlotte in New York. Charlotte, thank you for the email. Why can I not pay for an RV using a credit card? I have over a $40,000 limit that is available on one of my American Express cards, and right now I'm being offered double points, and I have asked several times to several dealerships, not only in New York, but also in Maine and New Jersey, if they would let me pay for a travel trailer. I'm just looking for something small and easy on my credit card. It's not that I have bad credit. It's not that I don't have the cash. It's the fact that I want the points. You know, anytime I can get something free, I want to be able to do that. Now, their explanation is that their percentage is too high for American Express. So I offered them that they could charge me the extra credit card percentage, so that way I can make sure to get my points, and they still won't do it. You mentioned something, and I just don't understand it. Can you explain why a dealership has only a limitation on how much they'll take, especially on an American Express card? Okay. That's probably one of the best questions I've had in a long time. Charlotte, thank you so much for that question. First off, I want to start that years ago. Hold on, let me turn off my space here. It's starting to get noisy. Okay. First off, yes, I'm in a travel trailer and a dinette, just to let you know if you're wondering. When I first started in this business back in 2008, 2009, we did take full credit card payments on RVs. And as long as we charged what we were going to be charged for running the credit card, okay? How do I put this delicately? Really, what really ruined it was, especially for American Express, was there was a customer by an old dealership. Okay, they're not around anymore. They were called Altman's. Okay, Altman's RV in Colton, California. Altman's used to take black cards for payments all day, all night, no problem at all. Not even a flinch. Okay. What ended up happening was a guy picked up a Safari motorhome. At least this is a story I was told. Doesn't mean, I take stories with a grain of salt from the old timers. And what happened was, guy went out, had a good time, got hit by a semi truck, and he forgot to put insurance on the vehicle, supposedly. That's the story. So the guy called American Express and disputed the charge, and American Express automatically sucks that money completely out of the bank account. They don't even give you a chance to dispute the disputer or resolve the dispute. So the guy had a crashed motorhome, no insurance, and sucked all the money out. American Express sucked all the money out because the guy disputed the charge. Okay. Altman's was out, I don't know, 80, 90 grand, I would assume by then. So that's one reason why they don't let you use American Express to buy stuff in full. The number two reason why is because for the most part, there's a lot of risk with MasterCard, Visa, Discover anymore, because the credit card companies are going to take the side of the customer before they take the side of the business. And when you have too many disputes as a company, they start to regulate how much you can charge or regulate how many funds they're going to distribute. I'll give you an example. This dealership I'm working for, even though the company's been around for like 30 years, this location has only been open or under the company umbrella since September of 2023, so September of last year. That being said, the credit card company treats us as if we're a new company. So if I took a $25,000 credit card, they may hold it for a while and wait for you to not dispute the charge. So it puts me out cash flow. So reality is, it's just about cash flow. That's all it's about. It's about cash flow. Okay? They want to make sure that they're going to have enough money to pay off the inventory loan, make payroll. If you have too many problems where you're charging too much money on a credit card for big purchases, you run a big risk. So dealerships are just not willing to take that risk, and that's really what it's about. Okay. I had one more because I didn't get a lot of them. I have one more I'm going to go over, and then we're going to call it a night. I'm going to go to bed. Freaking tired. Oh, this is a good one. Whoop. Space here went off again. It just makes too much freaking noise. Okay, so here it is. Dear Honey Badger, we watched your last video about interest rates. We are hearing a lot of conflicting stories about banks, mortgages, things of that nature. What do you think will happen if interest rates go down by, let's say, March? And why would they not lower interest rates? Well, that doesn't make sense. Okay, let me just kind of go into what I spoke about in my last video on January 1st. Okay, so I released a video New Year's Day. I talked about the fact that I don't believe they'll lower interest rates, the Fed. the Fed won't lower interest rates in 2024. Mostly because of what Jerome Powell said December 13th. If you want to see that, go to that video a little bit later. If you're watching this after we live stream it, I'll put in the description box of this video for you. How do I put this? So if interest rates go down on mortgages, cars, or RVs or boats, it's because the lending institution decides to do it, not because the Fed will. I do not believe the Fed will lower their rate at all here in 2024 because Jerome Powell, in his last press conference, even said he's not going to do it. He didn't guarantee anything except for that they're not going to raise interest rates for December and that they're not going to know what they're going to do until the end of January. Okay, so if you go and listen to the full 40-minute video, Jerome Powell never promises that he's going to lower interest rates, okay? So to go one step further, if credit unions, if lending institutions decide to lower rates themselves and not make as much money on loans, that's up to them. So if they want to buy the money from the Fed at 5.75 and lend it at 5.80, that's their prerogative. But they're not going to do that, okay? Do I think they may lower it down 1/4 of a point? Maybe. I believe the rate's going to stay around 7.99 as the absolute best rate in the industry on a 20-year term. I think 7.49 is going to continue to be the best interest rate out there on a 15-year term. But I believe for this year and 2025, the average interest rate for good credit is going to be 9%. And it's going to stay there. It's not going to go up, not going to go down. Maybe it will fluctuate a little bit. Maybe it'll fluctuate 1/4 point one way or the other. But the reality is you're starting to see credit unions, especially ones I've been using for years, their rates are around 10%. And I think that's right where it's going to stay. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I say it a million times. This is why pricing is so low, and that's why there's such a big inventory dump in the industry, is because interest rates are high, and you still have to make the payments affordable. So, like the company I work for, more than likely is going to our owner's probably going to write a check for $1 million or $2 million to cover all the losses we're going to take to move hopefully 150, 200 pieces. So that just kind of gives you an idea where the mindset of owners are. The mindset of owners is interest rates are high. They're not coming down anytime soon. How do I lower my overhead? Well, I got to dump a bunch of inventory and recalculate what I want to carry. And that's what's going on right now. Even the big corporate stores like Camping World and Bish's and Lazy Days and General RV and Blue Compass, which is all kinds of interesting stores, truly believe those stores are still going through their process of what are we really going to keep and what are we going to dump, because they're going through the same kind of inventory dump small dealers are. We're all basically on the same playing level about what we're trying to accomplish. So hopefully that helped you out. One last thing I do want to announce that I really didn't announce because I want to keep the channels separate, was I do have a second channel out there that is connected to this channel. It's called HBRV Lifestyle Podcast. I go into more of a natural, unedited type of stuff where I speak. I'm on Spotify and iHeartRadio and Amazon if you guys want to check it out there. I've had it for about 1.5 years, and I think I'm pretty comfortable with the growth of this channel that we can finally mix the two channels together. So if you guys are interested, I have that. And then also, if you don't like the 10-minute walkthrough videos and you only like my finance stuff and stuff like that, and you think my walkthroughs are too long, because I think 25% of you told me that in the poll I did, then we also have HBRV Lifestyle Shorts, where I do not only short content like I do on here, but I also do 1 minute to 2 minute walkthrough videos on inventory. So until then, thank you so much. I'll see you guys next Saturday with more questions. If you want to send me your questions, I read them here live. levingstonrvservices@gmail.com. That's LEV as in Victor, INGSTON, RV services, that's plural, at gmail.com. Same bat time, same bat channel, 7 a.m. Pacific time next Saturday. Have a great week and happy camping.